Yo, welcome back, everyone. Welcome back to the podcast. Hope you guys had a great Thanksgiving. We have a great start to your holiday season. I know I am. So let's get into today's episode. Today's episode is a two-parter, my first two-part podcasting episode here. So we're going to talk about the basics of strength training. You know, what exactly it is. Everyone's always like, you see on Instagram and everywhere, all these coaches be like, you got to be strength training, you got to be strength training, you got to be strength training. But what the heck is that? How do you incorporate it into your routine? What does a strength training program look like? What are the basics behind it? What are the principles behind it? And how do you create one? So in this first part of this little mini series here, I'm going to be talking about the components of a strength training program. So I'm going to talk about what exercises or movements should be included in any strength training program, how to create one, like the frequency, what do those workouts look like, and a basic way for you to get started with a strength training program today. So we're pretty much going to start from the beginning. And then in the second part two, I'm going to talk a little bit more about the principles behind strength training, how strength is built, how your body improves through strength training, a little bit more sciencey there, as well as how to progress in your strength training and to continue seeing results with your strength training. So let's get right into it and start talking about the movements for strength training. So when you talk about strength training, what's included in it? How does it work? Like, what are you doing? So pretty much break it down into 8 different movements or exercises. Within each movement pattern, there are tons of different variations. Tons. You'll probably have heard plenty of these movements before, but there's tons of different variations of it. Like one of them is going to be a squat. You can have a goblet squat. You can have a barbell squat. You can have a sumo squat. There's tons of different squat variations out there. It's less about right now the specifics of which variation you should be doing, and that you should be incorporating these 8 movements into your program in some form based off of your ability, your goals, and so on and so forth. So let's dive into these 8 different movement patterns and talk about what areas they work on, muscle groups, and a little bit about the movement pattern itself. So first one is going to be that bench press, chest press, whatever you want to call it. This works on it's an upper body push movement. So that's going to be working on your chest, triceps, a little bit of shoulders in there. So this is going to be an upper body push exercise. So there's really 2 types of movements that I'm going to talk about here. Some are going to be push, some are going to be pull. So think about a push. So we got our chest press. We're going to be pushing that weight away from us. Where a pull exercise, we're going to be pulling that weight. So as you'll come to see some of these movement patterns, you'll see the stark difference that there's opposites here. Whether there's one push, there's a pull. There's that yin and then yang. They work on usually opposite muscle groups there. So second exercise is going to be that bent over row. That's going to be building up our lats, our back muscles, some of those biceps. So that's going to be that upper body pull exercise. That's going to be the opposite of that bench press. It's good to know these opposite type of movements because then that can help build up some variation in your workout program. So if you got something like a bench press and a bent over row, you can pair them together because you know they're working on opposite muscle groups. So you can pair them up into a superset and make your workout a little bit faster, which is one thing that I really love to do, work on supersets like that. So next movement pattern is going to be that overhead press. So that's going to be our primary shoulder exercise there. And again, it's going to be a push because we're going to be pushing that weight up and over that head. The opposite of that one is going to be that lat pull down or pull up. Either one, both are variations of each other. And then that's going to be working on our lats, back, and biceps. And that's going to be a pull exercise, hence the name pull up, pull down. Again, those exercises are the opposite of each other. Now, getting a little bit more into that lower body here, squat is going to be one of our main lower body movements, and that's going to work more of those quads, and then some variations, a little bit more of our glutes, things like that. The opposite of that is going to be that deadlift. So the deadlift is going to work more of those back of those legs, hamstrings, glutes, and so on and so forth. And that's going to be our pull exercise. So it gets a little complicated with push and pull when it comes to squat and deadlift. So it's harder to visualize than like a bench press in a row. So with the squat, we got that barbell on our back. The movement of coming down isn't the exercise. What is the movement that you're actually going to be strengthening is when you're coming up. So you're pushing through the ground to get yourself up. Where a deadlift, you're pulling from the ground, pulling that weight up. So that's where you get that's where you get that push and pull there. Now, these last two movement patterns aren't really traditional exercise, where all the other ones, bench press, bent over row, squat, deadlift, overhead press, all those are exercises that we've heard of. These last two are really, again, just movement patterns. So one is carry, for farmers carries, overhead carries, waiter carries, things like that. These is a great movement pattern, because it's very relevant to everyday life. We're always holding things, carrying things. So having proper form and position with that is going to be vitally important to our everyday life. So this is going to help us improve our grip strength, conditioning, as well as a lot of core stabilization and core strength. And then lastly is plank. So plank is going to be great for core stabilization as well as core strength. So being able to build up that awareness. Obviously, with all of these, our core is going to be involved, keeping our core, but working on that specifically with a plank or some plank stabilization type exercises like wood choppers, Pallof presses, things like that are going to be very important. So we got those 8 movements, again, that want to be incorporated into our workout program in some form. That's going to look different for every person, especially, from a beginner to an intermediate to an advanced lifter. There are going to be different variations of those exercises, where a beginner might have an dumbbell Romanian deadlift, an intermediate might have a barbell deadlift, where a advanced lifter might have, a deficit sumo deadlift, something like that. So those are all going to be the same movement patterns, but they're going to be working that movement in a different way, taxing our body in that different way. And we'll get a little bit more into that in that second episode here. But right now we're keeping it super simple. We have our 8 movements: bench press, bent over row, overhead press, lat pull down, squat, deadlift, carry, plank. So how do we create a program with these exercises? So we have these movement patterns. How do we now transition that into what we can do in the gym, at home, and so on? So really, in most standard programs are going to be 3 to 4 days per week of lifting is going to be the appropriate amount to start seeing results there. So those are going to be the 2 examples I'm going to be working with here. The best way that I've found there are so many different ways. You can look up online. There's tons of different ways to split up your workouts. The best way that I have found for me personally, and that a lot of people like, is a push-pull type of split. So for a 3-day a week, this would look like 1 day with push exercises, 1 day with pull exercises, and 1 full body day. Where a 4-day a week would have 2 push days, 2 pull days, alternating between those to allow for adequate rest. What this allows you to do is it allows you to incorporate the same type of movements into that workout. So you can pick 4 of them. So say you're having a push day, you got your bench press, your overhead press, your squat, and then either your carry or your plank. You got 4 extras right there. You can do more than one movement for those, or you can just do 4. Again, for that pull day, you got that bent over row, lat pull down, deadlift, and the other one of that carry or that plank. Boom. You have a pretty solid workout right there. If you're doing those 4 exercises at an appropriate weight, you're going to get a good workout in. Obviously, you can add some more accessory type exercise in there. If, say you have, so you want to build up some more arm strength, add in those exercises, or you want to do, maybe add another deadlift variation, add another, bent over row variation. That's perfectly fine. You can add more exercises in, but you at least have those 4 movements in there, your 4 main movements, and then build it around the rest. That's going to be a recipe for success there. And then, when it comes to rep ranges, things like that, keep it super simple at the beginning. 3 sets, 8 to 12 reps each set. That's going to be where you're going to get most of those goals. And then once you begin and you decide, I want to go more strength, or I want to have some more endurance, or I want to keep it with this, 8 to 12 reps, that's where you go from there. Maybe you find out you really love the deadlift and you want to build up your deadlift strength. So you start to lower those reps, that rep range, increase those sets so you can get a little bit heavier of weight than you would maybe say that you can lift for 8 reps. That's perfectly fine. But that's a great place to start. 3 sets, 4 exercises. So those 4 movements, 3 sets, 8 to 12 reps per set. Boom. You have a program designed for you right there that you can do 4 days a week and challenge yourself. And again, like I said, there are tons of different variations. You don't have to do the same 4 exercises every single workout. I suggest creating one at the beginning of the month, stick with it for a month, then change it up each and every month. I think that's the best way than trying to change your workout every single time. It doesn't build consistency with the workouts. And it's really hard to challenge yourself when you're doing vastly different extra workouts every single day. Plus, it's a lot of thinking, and I like to take the thinking out of it. Let's keep it super simple. Have that workout program at the beginning of the month or for 4 weeks. Say whatever. You don't have to do it at the beginning of the month. Start right now. Boom. You got 4 weeks. You have 4 workouts that you're going to do. And then it can even be the same 2 that you're going to do each day. You can have 1 push, 1 pull. Alternate between them. Stick with it. There you go. Next, after those 4 weeks, maybe change up some variations. Add, a different bench press variation. Maybe you want to do, try a barbell instead of dumbbells, or you want to do a floor press, or maybe you want to slow down the tempo. There's tons of different ways to challenge yourself within each of these movement patterns. It's just about finding, what variations you like, what variations help you see results the best, and what variations that you might need. Maybe you've been sticking with that same variation of that bent over row and you've really stopped seeing progress. Okay, maybe now it's time to change it up. Maybe it's time for adding in a cable row, with that dumbbell row, or maybe adding a different type of variation, a different grip to challenge yourself a little bit there. So let's just do a little review here. We talked about a lot of things in this first episode. So we have our 8 movement patterns. Bench press, bent over row, overhead press, lat pull down, squat, deadlift, carry, plank. 8 movement patterns there. Those are going to be included in every single program that we have in some form. We want to create our program 3 to 4 days per week, either push, pull, full, or 2 push, 2 pull days. For to create that workout, we're going to pick 4 of those movements, do 3 sets of 8 to 12 reps each set. Done. It's that simple. We just went over it in 2 minutes, 1 minute. You have a program. Now let's sit down, let's create it, write it out for yourself, and then you go. Stick with it for 4 weeks, make adjustments as needed, then move on from there. That's how progress is made. You stick with it for a month, you change it up, boom, 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 and it keeps on building up. And that's how you start seeing progress. So next episode, we're going to dive a little bit deeper into the specifics of strength training when it comes to what are the principles behind it. How do we start seeing progress? How do we start seeing results? How do we progress ourselves? So after you've been doing this for a couple of months, how do we know when we need to increase reps or sets or weight, whatever it may be? How do we challenge ourselves? How do we keep that progress moving forward? So hope you guys enjoyed this episode. I'm super excited for that next episode to continue diving deeper into strength training. Thank you guys for listening. Hope to see you guys next week. Make sure you leave a review. If you guys have any questions, if you want help creating your program, shoot me an email, shoot me a message on Instagram, whatever the best way you want to contact me. Happy to help you out, give you some advice. We can bring you on for coaching and get you started making progress. Don't wait for 2021. Why do we have to wait to start making those goals? Let's make it happen right now. So shoot me a message, shoot me an email. Let's get after it here. Look for that next episode coming out next week. I hope you all have a great day.